Okay, we are live. So happy Tuesday, everybody. This is Jeff coming from Pure Bowling to you, and I have two of my, I'll say my closest gal friends and favorite people in this world. One I live with, the other one is slightly further away. But I've invited on tonight Kerry Smith, PWBA player and Hammer national staffer. And then I have this other girl that bowls every once in a while, and her name is Shannon O'Keefe. Oh, and she has a
Hey,
few titles under her belt. So, Shannon, great to have you on, coming all the way from Illinois and giving some of your time tonight, and being part of our Talk About It Tuesday segment here. And we're going to talk a little bit. I'm not in the screen there, Carrie, so maybe your finger will work a little better. It's kind of over there a little bit. But
well,
we're here tonight to talk about there we go. It's kind of
there.
like, yeah, so it gets the square.
You feel like
The Hammer Web Tour Hybrid. And this is a really exciting release that I couldn't wait to get my hands on when it came out. So I thought, what better way than to get, two kind of superstars from the PWBA to come in and give a little bit of their insight on it after I have a chance to talk about it a little bit. So, Kerry, Shannon, welcome. Great to see the smiling faces. Even though I live with Kerry, we're not in the same place right now. So I think she's home there. Looks like probably sitting in the kitchen, and I'm here slaving away at the center. So,
where you should be.
hey, Colby, hope you're doing well, buddy. Um, where she should be? You mean I should be at work, Shannon? That's what you meant, not that she was supposed to be in the kitchen. Because I'm pretty sure I heard that Brian was just doing the cooking there. So
Listen,
I,
I will do the laundry. I will clean the floors. I will take care of the dogs. Cooking is not my thing, and Brian is so good at it, and he loves it. So fine, it's totally fine.
See, Jeff,
oh,
you should get on the cooking wagon. Brian,
yeah, I did a little of the I did a little grilling last Monday because she was running late. So I don't
you
let her
did.
fool you into thinking I don't ever do it, but she does 98.6% of it. So anyway, we're here to talk about bowling, not rag on Jeff Hour. We can do that later, right? But so
You should plan
want to
that one.
make sure, yeah, totally fine with it. But so Web Tour Hybrid. All right. The success goes back to the Web Tour, which was a huge hit under the Hammer brand, and very well used. So the exciting thing for me is when, we got the announcement and we got that kind of that staff email that said, hey, look what's coming out. And all our jaws hit the ground going, final. This is it. It's
Yeah.
back. Cannot wait to get a hybrid version of this going back in the bag. The cool thing about it is the core wise, it's going to still use that steroid TE core that was in the original, and then we got a hybrid version of that Tour V1 cover on it. So, differences in the shell of the ball as well, kind of the surface prep. The original, I believe, was 361,000, pretty dull piece. And this hybrid, when you see it up close as well, still pretty dull coming out. I mean, when you look at it, you think hybrid. A lot of times, people would think, a little bit of shine, but this is 500, 1500, no compound, nothing like that on it. And for the techie numbers people, the 247030, um, I chuckle when I say things like that because the numbers only mean so much. It's really that cover stock that's wrapped around the outside there that comes in contact and surface with the lane. Because if you caught last week's segment on Thursday, I had reviewed and threw the radical bonus down the lane, and that has the same numbers in terms of differential, but has a super super strong cover on it. And I throw it up against this ball, and they're two distinctly different balls. So, folks, don't get too hung up on the numbers alone. The surface prep, which these two girls that are in this feed right now know all too well about what we do to the surface of bowling balls when we go in and we're bowling either a PWBA event or any other type event where we're trying to control the front to back movements of the ball. So um, the one thing that I think is also worth mentioning before I ask these girls a little bit about their thoughts of this is, um, Shannon, you have your brand, the So Tough, and I mean, the cool thing about it is when you think about tough and durability, the nice thing is this ball also has the standard 2-year warranty. So, with that, that's important. And that'll cover any type of big cracks, anything in the ball, as long as you stay within the parameters and the pro shop operators don't drill too closely to any pins or any rules or any plug work that's in there. But it's amazing. These balls are super durable. And that's wrapped in, any one of the 7 brands of Brunswick. That's standard across the board now is a 2-year warranty. So that's huge.
Yeah. I think that's pretty incredible. Honestly, it really proves, well, I think it really shows their dedication to putting out really great product. And that they're willing to go 2 years when I think a lot of people know that a bowling ball, if you throw it consistently, you're probably only going to get about 90 to 100 games on it, if that, with today's modern covers, because they're so porous that they soak up that oil so quick. If you take care of it, you're going to get 90 to 100 games on a ball before it starts losing a little bit of its gusto anyways. So for them to say, hey, we're gonna guarantee this for 2 years, I mean, that's pretty awesome. And something that I'm proud to be aligned with a company like that.
Yeah, I mean, that's awesome. And, we also, when you think about it from the perspective, not just the balls, but you made a good point about, taking care of the balls, the oil extraction, that's one thing. But, the good thing is when we come out with bowling balls, Brunswick does a very good job to offer also accessories that come out with these. So the Power Scrub is one we recommend for a ball of this nature because it doesn't have shine to it. So you pair that with proper cleaning and maintenance on the ball, and they're going to last you for a long time. I mean, speaking to either one of you, now you girls get, go through bowling balls and in and out of the bags, but how many, both of you, do you both still have your original Web Tour you put holes in your bags? Does it still have the lane from the original?
I do not.
I do.
Shannon does it. I know somebody on this feed does that, and it is still a mainstay on the bag. And if you look at that bowling ball, you would have swore it was shined.
Yeah.
She threw it a few weeks ago. She threw it down the lanes here on the wood, and the ball, it was a shorter pattern, kind of wiggled off of it. I'm like, give me that ball. And went and cracked it with a pad. I'm like, all right, well, it's still alive, so we'll go from there. But
I think I think we both kind of touched on it. Before we really get too much into this ball, the number one thing really is ball maintenance. Obviously, Kerry and I are very fortunate. We're on staff with a company to where we are given equipment that is needed for us to compete at the highest level. And we are very aware that not everybody is that fortunate, and they can be expensive. So it really boils down to, think about your car. You're not going to drive 100,000 miles without ever getting an oil change. You would blow your engine up. Nobody would do that. So, you do the maintenance because you're supposed to help with the longevity of your vehicle. And this is the same thing. You need to keep up with the maintenance of a bowling ball because every single time a bowling ball rolls down the lane, it is picking up oil off of that lane. And if you were to look at the cover of a bowling ball under a microscope, it's going to look like a sponge. It has huge pores under a microscope. And so it's just picking up that oil. And if you're not cleaning it, at least after when you are done using it before you put it in the bag or at the end of a day, if you're not doing that to help pull some of that oil, you're not going to get all of it out, but you can get a huge majority of it out. If you're not doing that, then the life of your bowling ball is going to be a lot shorter than the people that do take care of it. And so it really is an investment. So many people are like, well, I don't want to spend the $15 on this ball cleaner. And I'm like, well, why? Why not? You spent $250 on the bowling ball. Why would you not do this? And so to me, not that I'm trying to sell anything, but I'm just trying to reiterate how important it is that they take care and manage those bowling balls because you bought them for a reason. And as Kerry still has her original one in her bag, it's not dead because she takes care of it. I don't because I gave it away, but
I was the same way. And I will tell you, like, for me personally as well, for the Web Tour, I mean, I had at any given time, I had 3 or 4 in my tournament bag.
Yeah.
Just because it was such an amazing controlled piece, and it, for me aesthetically, how it matched up with my eye.
Same.
It was a mainstay, and again, to see a hybrid version of this and keep that placard coming out under the web name, super exciting. I mean,
Yes,
I'm
for sure.
speaking for all of us that are in the group, but so you both have obviously had some time to throw this one down the lane. Shannon, I know I watched a short video of you throwing it for the first time and got that kind of that giggly, smiley look and like, ooh, I like that. This is like, you know. So what was your initial thoughts of it, Shannon? I mean, when you kind of compared it to that, the original, what are the similarities and or big differences that you see?
Well, the number one thing is I can't say that I compared it to the original because I currently don't have one drilled in my house. And so I still have a web tour. I have a couple of them, the OGs, but so I didn't necessarily compare it, but I'm very aware of what the web tour does. I used it a lot on tour. It was a ball down for me. I love my web. And so I've been able to compare from my web to the web tour hybrid. And for me, the number one thing that I noticed is out of the box, even though it is 500, 1500, it looks like it's 500 out of the box. And so those first couple of shots, because it is so dull, are going to be a little bit deceiving. It's how you get a little bit of lane shine, a little oil, on that cover. And so out of the box, I was like, whoa, that's a bit dusty. But then once I threw in it lane shine a little bit, it is very similar to my baby of a web tour. It's very similar. And I was very happy. I mean, it is definitely a bit cleaner than my web. And very controlled down lane. I am somebody who loves symmetrical bowling balls. I will throw symmetrical bowling balls 95% of the time, unless I'm bowling on a house shot. Then they're not as good. I will stick with my asymmetricals on a house shot, but I hardly ever bowl on a house shot. So for me, a web tour gives me that ball down from my big symmetrical balls, but I know that I'm not going to have an issue then controlling the pocket once I make that adjustment. So I really like it. I threw it a lot 2 days ago in practice. And every time I throw it, I just kind of get that like warm, fuzzy feeling like, oh my gosh, I can't wait for tour to start because this ball is so good. So this is one that when tour starts, I probably will have 1 or 2, maybe 3 of these in my tournament arsenal for tour.
Right. And a good point you made there. I mean, when it's it's a ball down and even staying within the Hammer brands, recently released, Fugitive Solid, a big symmetrical ball, very dusty, in the same way. This is definitely a ball down for that.
For sure.
And a good example. And when Shannon talks about having multiples in the bag. Sorry, I keep adjusting these.
No, you're
these
good.
Cute little pink headphones that I have in here that I found in my bag. When having multiples of them, that could look like something like, from a layout wise, without using weight holes, a lot of that's going to be changes in essentially just some of that pin to pap distance to control the flare potential of these balls.
Really quick, sorry, this isn't about the web, but this was in 2018 when I was bowling the USPC Queens. We were in Reno, and I love the GB2s and the GB3s. Like I love all of that. And the GB3s were just a bit too early in Reno. And so the GB2 was giving me my best ball motion. So we then decided, once I made it to matches, to the match play, to drill one just a little bit stronger. So a little closer, pin to PAP, a little bit stronger than what I had. So then I can start with it versus starting with a really strong symmetrical, start with like a medium symmetrical. And then when that ball was starting to plaque 10, that icky bleh down lane, then I could go to my little bit weaker pin to PAP GB2 that I'd already had, and it was a perfect fit. And then as I even got deeper into the matches, we drilled a third one that was even weaker. And so I had the same ball laid out 3 different ways. And when you're bowling on tour or you're bowling on a sport pattern, and it's the tiniest little difference that is going to kick out that 10 pin or slap the pins around, that's going to be the difference between winning a match and not winning a match. And my very first opening match against Kerry Marcano, I was so glad that I had that second one, because it goes, you bowl 3 games and it's total pinfall. And in the 10th frame, well, I kept placking 10s on the right lane, and I move a little bit and it just wasn't right. That feeling. And So she finishes, and I need a double. I need a double to win the match. And I looked at Brian and Rob, and I'm like, I'm not doubling with that pin down GB2. I'm changing balls. And they thought I was absolutely crazy. But I was so confident that it was going to do exactly what I needed it to do. And I doubled. And then, long story short, I went on to win that tournament. And on the TV show, it was the same thing. From match 1 against Liz Johnson to then bowling against Brie Cote for the title, I switched balls on the right lane. And then it looked so good, I switched balls on the left lane. Same ball, nobody knew, but it was just a different layout. So having the same ball and being able to manipulate the layouts sometimes is what is needed.
It's what's needed, and aesthetically for your eye, the way, the core being the same that's in that ball with that slightly different, like you referred to, weaker layout, a ball that's not going to flare as much, it's not going to read the front part of the lane as much, and has a little different energy retention down lane, is what Shannon's getting to there. So yeah, and having that confidence, I mean, that's huge.
Yep.
So Kerry, I know you as well. You have had a chance to throw this one down the lane, and again, kind of a little bit giddy about it because you loved your web tour so much, and maybe I don't want to steal your thunder, but Kerry and Shannon don't throw it quite the same. Kerry is very a little forward, if you will, a lot less tilt. That she's worked on a lot, and I know Kerry, not to speak for you, but Kerry used to be the opposite of Shannon, where Kerry really loved the big asymmetrical balls. Kerry, what are you liking now? You've been working really hard, kind of increasing tilt, even rev rate a little bit. With them big old hands you have.
Oh yeah.
What have you been liking? The most lately.
I used to be really into the big ASIMs, like you said, but now I am like Shannon. I am, more and more towards the symmetrical balls going down the lane. And it's weird because I think like in the spring this year, I think I looked at you, Jeff, and I was like, I'm throwing more and more symmetrical balls. Like, this is not me. But like you said, I've worked on my game a lot, and I throw it different than I did 2 years ago. I might still be forward. I might not have as much tilt as Shannon, obviously, but I throw it different. And I think it's really important that just everybody understands that that's how bowling is. Like, there's never a finish line in bowling. Our sport is always evolving, so you just have to work towards the game, because once you think you figure it out, then something new comes along, or new patterns come along, new bowling balls, they just get stronger and stronger. So I mean, I've been liking a lot of the symmetrical shapes right now from our brands.
Yeah, and I mean, not just this hybrid. Obviously, I'll let you talk a little bit about that one, but across some of the other brands, for instance, like the Outlook has been really good for you. Cleaner cover, more energy retention down lane, and starting to get away from some of those bigger pieces, because these bowling balls continue to get stronger and stronger, and when they do that, they go in and they make the oils thicker, and it's it's this big vicious cycle. And really what it comes down to, folks, when you're picking out bowling balls and you're working with your pro shop or working with myself, it's really about matching up the player to the ball that they're going to have the most success with, right? The one we're talking about today has a ton of versatility. So I guarantee you this one is going to see a lot of play, not only for the tournament players, which we've kind of talked about a little bit, but in open play and in league play as well, because again, kind of that lower differential, that controlled piece, it kind of falls into that benchmark category, where it would be a ball that any one of us that are in this chat, who all throw it differently, may use it to essentially kind of figure a pattern out a little bit, or just give us a baseline of what we want to see, because it's going to give us that motion that we're all used to seeing, and then we can decide our points or our ball changes from there, front to back, because we know this ball is going to be smooth, and if we need an earlier shape, or maybe to go to one of them big asymmetrical motors, or if we want to see a little more downlane movement, what is the lane telling us, and that is critical. Whether you're a seasoned player, or you're just kind of getting into this, and these two, girls that are on the feed now, Kerry made a good point saying, it's evolution, always working under craft. And Shannon, I believe you have a term you've used for a long time with your girls, McKendry, and for yourself. And what would that one be?
If you get out of it what you put into it. That's
right.
life. That's life. That's your job. It's your relationships. It's your schoolwork.
Mm-hmm.
It's your sport. You're going to get out of it what you put into it. And if you're not willing to put the time and effort into it, then you can't sit there and complain out the other side of your mouth that you're not, where you want to be. So, it sounds a bit like of a harsh, thing when I put it that way, but it is reality. That's life. You get out of it what you put into it. Kerry and I have chosen to dedicate, a lot of our free time to being the best that we can be, and fight through the ups and the downs, specifically the downs, to come out better the other side. But that's with anything. So.
Great. All right, Kerry. So comparing the two.
Compare them, Kerry, because I haven't.
No. She definitely has. So, when you compare the two, Kerry, how do you, similarities and or big differences? What do you got?
Well, I loved my web, so I'll start with that. The web was awesome, but then the web tour came along and I was like, this ball is awesome. It's smooth, off the back end of the pattern. It doesn't jump off the pattern. It doesn't overhook. I felt like I love to play straight. So obviously, that ball allowed me to stay right longer, which is normally, my comfort zone. So I used that ball on a lot of different patterns. It worked really good on shorter patterns, patterns once, the front started to hook, like everything. I feel like I use that ball in everything. So when they announced this new hybrid, when I got the email, I was like, OMG, this will be awesome. So I was really excited for it. I know Jeff got the same email and we were like, oh man, because we liked the web tour so much. So when it finally arrived and we got holes in it, I actually threw it for the first time last week in my traveling league. Now we just bowl in a house shot, but I threw it down the lane and I was like, whoa, this ball is special. It has the same smoothness off the back part of the pattern, but it's just a little stronger. So it fits perfectly in between the web and the web tour, where it's supposed to fit. So, I mean, it is stronger. I've noticed that it's stronger, but it still has that really smoothness is what I'm going to say to it. So it's really awesome. I mean, I know, Jeff, you threw it in league a couple weeks ago too, and you were just like blown away by it. But
I mean, when I bowl 720, it's obviously the ball. It's not me at this point in my career. And we call it the house shot. I mean, I don't. There's got to be more of a term when you're bowling on something that's 25-1. I mean, doesn't it become even easier than a house shot? It's like throwing a beach ball at the ocean.
Sure.
Yeah.
But what Kerry was getting at is, I got a chance myself to throw it down the lane, and it was, typical league pattern, a lot of friction to the right, not blended real well, kind of cliffed. But the thing that was really great about it is that cliff portion of the lane, because of the cover stock of this ball, it kind of smoothed and stretched the pattern out a little bit. So my, my moves were actually pretty minimal. I was setting up camp. I moved about 5, which is not much for the whole night, and was able to keep my hand and my angles more in front of me. And this ball just was amazing through the pins. I mean, it's the week before I had thrown a Verge Curl, which I was very impressed with, and kind of the differences there was, that Verge Curl was way sharper off the spot and, a lot more sensitive to the friction.
Yes.
Whereas this hybrid definitely kind of, smoothed the back end of the pattern out and kind of aesthetically for my eye, I was able to really keep those angles in front of myself, longer and longer. And that's half the battle for me. I mean, everybody that's in this room right now, works really hard on, shot making and keeping angles in front of us when we play on, the flatter patterns. So not having what we refer to as that league swing where, kind of trying to throw it out the window. So it's fun when you can bowl league and do that.
And I think when you have a ball in your hand that is aesthetically pleasing to your eye, I know we've all been there. Like all of a sudden you're splitting boards, like you can't miss your mark, right? But then if you have a ball in your hand where it's just not right for that pattern, and you throw a good shot and it does something crazy, all of a sudden you're throwing it all over the place. Like we've all been there. So finding that ball that's kind of your comfort zone, kind of your baby, like you mentioned, a benchmark ball is so important for people to have in their bag. I don't think enough people do that. It's something that we're even trying to like train our girls a little bit more on, is you got to have that one ball, that one comfort ball. And for the most part on a sport pattern, it probably should be a symmetrical bowling ball, because asymmetrical bowling balls tend to want to come off the spot really hard or harder when they encounter friction. And sometimes that's unpredictable. Friction is unpredictable. Although you need to use it, it's unpredictable. And so you're always trying to find that oil line. You're always trying to find, that edge. But for me, symmetrical bowling balls, because they are smoother, tend to be the ones that I would have people gravitate to more on a sport pattern. We see it all the time with our girls. I think it's pretty noticeable on tour. Every once in a while, we may bowl on something where I'll need a big ASIM, but not very often.
Not on the women's tour, though. I mean, everything turns into 41 feet.
Yeah, feels like it. Feels like it. One thing I wanted to touch on really quick is you mentioned it, that the number one thing we talked about, managing your surfaces as far as cleaning them, but you're gonna see the biggest difference in ball motion when it's the cover of the bowling ball is the number one factor in ball motion. So many people get so wrapped up in the layout and pin to PAP, and yes, that's important. But the number one factor is the surface that you have on the cover of your bowling ball, because it's in what's direct contact with the lane. So that's going to be the number one factor. And so if you like this ball and you love this bowling ball and you love it fresh out of the box and it's everything you want it to be, you just have to remember that you probably need to freshen that up with 1500 every once in a while to make it continue to be that that specific spot in your bag, because as balls do lane shine, they do want to go longer and longer down the lane. And so all of a sudden, people are going to start thinking, man, this ball is running out of gas, and all they got to do is just manage that surface.
Well, and then on the other side of it, sometimes, like for example, sometimes I'll get a ball out of the box and I'll be like, oh, I don't like this ball at all. And some people will just be like, oh, I don't like the ball, that was a waste of money, whatever. Well, if you hit the surface lightly to get whether it's shine or if it's just not the proper surface, you're going to see it react differently as well. So I mean, that's the whole other end of the spectrum. So I mean, you got to keep that in mind as well. So maybe if somebody gets this ball and they're like, whoa, it looks like you said, it looks like a snow tire or 500 off the box.
Yeah.
The surface. Get it to what you want it to look like.
Yeah, you can shine it up. Nobody says you have to keep it the same cover out of the box. Shine that baby up. And then if it's going too straight, then knock the surface, on it. You can manipulate these surfaces so much that, years and years ago when I was on staff with Deviate, towards the end of the year, I won the St. Petersburg tournament and then won the tour championships the next week, throwing a freak show flip. The freak show flip out of the box wasn't really dull, but we hit that baby with 500 because I needed that ball to roll a little earlier and be a little smoother off the spot. And out of the box, it wanted to just jump off the spot a little too hard. So we manipulated that surface and we got that ball to do exactly what I needed it to do. So,
right. And I think it's a good one, and kind of to throw a plug out there too, Shannon. I don't think you were on the feed the other night, but Shannon and Brian and Coach Jasnow and Mike Shady, Flanagan and Farber. Sorry, I'm trying to get them all in there. Have started up backstage bowling, and from a person like myself as a coach, and there's a lot of really good content, and I want to make sure while you're on the feed here, everybody goes and checks it out, because a lot of the content Shannon is giving you now you have some of the top coaches in the game that are in that. I mean, I personally, you know, coach in ways of philosophies that match a lot of that. And I've joined and signed up just to interact with the coaches that are there. And, you know, I threw a video up just kind of for fun and
You
stuff.
did.
And they didn't roast me too bad. I gave them the ad lib about 752 surgeries, which probably don't ever let me live down.
That was
But
so fun.
where I was going at with this is, you know, some of the content you gave there is very good. And a discussion we had the other night on there, Eric Krause had jumped in, which you mentioned.
Yeah.
And Eric brought up a very good point that we've used, I've used a lot here and talked about is, you know, whether it's on tour or it's here, you know, some people will say, you know, I changed the surfaces, but I think what people don't understand is you're never going to replicate the box finish of a bowling ball. We just don't have the same machinery that they have for the box finish. So not just the balls that have compound or polish on them, but I'm the same way. Like, for instance, today I had to shoot a short little video on the blood red, which is, you know, comes out of the box. It's I don't want to say it's dull, but it's, you know, it's a little, it's not shiny like the SD was, but even if a ball is a solid cover stock and it's, let's say, 1,000 grit solid, right? I still hit that with my 1,000 pad here,
Right.
okay? Because it gives a baseline to what you know you're going to be able to replicate. So
100%.
I think Eric used the example like Don Barrett, for instance. Don Barrett's he's gonna get a Brunswick ball out, and let's say he got a Prism solid out, right? Like the original green one. It was pretty chalky. Even though it was chalky, he's still gonna go in there with a pad, hit that ball, even if it's the same. Like if the box says it's 2,000, we're gonna hit it with a 2,000 anyway, because we know, okay, we have a baseline. We can hit this ball again, and we're going to see that same motion. This is the starting point.
Right,
so
because the 2,000 in your hand, you're manipulating that. You have no idea what the machines actually did in the plant. Yes, it was 2,000, but what I remember from EBI days, you know, and I'm sure every plant's a little bit different, but they would change those Aberlon pads in those machines every 50 bowling balls. So is the bowling ball that you have at 2,000 the first time it went through or the 50th time it went through? So, you know, you just don't know. And so by manipulating it the second you get it out of the box, that's something you have control over and you can repeat that. And I think that that's something that just not a lot of people know.
Right. And it, you know, it was a good one. Like I said, you know, it is going to be a plug for Shannon. You know, obviously she's in here supporting, you know, our brands, not just with Hammer, but, you know, we've been friends forever. She agreed to come on here, and we want to do the same. So if you haven't checked it out, I want you guys to go over and check out Backstage Bowling, because it's there. The content there is amazing. And again,
well, for anybody,
the reason all three of us are here.
Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, for anybody that doesn't know what Backstage Bowling is, Jeff touched on it. Myself, my husband, Brian, who's a gold coach, has coached Team USA for over a decade, is the head coach of Junior Team USA. You have Mike Shady, you have Mike Jasnow. Jasnow's given lessons at, Lane 81 at the Open Championships for 20 years. And he knows his stuff. He's worked with me. He's worked with Danielle. He works with Marshall Kenny. He works with the best of the best. And then you have Matt Farber, who is mature beyond his years. He's very intelligent. And then Flanagan, it's just Flanagan. No, I'm just kidding. Flanagan is brains, he's so smart. But we partnered all together and created Backstage Bowling because the world has moved into a virtual learning environment. And so we don't have the ability, Brian and I specifically don't have the ability to, after we're done coaching our college kids and we're in the center for 5 hours every day, we don't have the ability to then stay in the center for another 2 or 3 hours and do one-on-one lessons because they're full of leagues and we're exhausted. But people can join Backstage Bowling and they can upload their videos. I'm sure you're seeing it. People are loading their videos like crazy. And we are able to then sit and really watch them and give them pointers and tips. And then they'll practice and work on it. And then they'll upload more videos. And then we're able to work with them that way. It is a virtual way of learning. And we do believe that one-on-one in person is the best way to coach. But that's just not a reality for what's happening in the world right now. And so we thought, hey, not only could we do this, but we can reach people all over the world and help them with bowling. And so the other night, Brian started something called the Coaches Corner. It's not just for people that want to get better. It's for coaches that want to be able to coach better and be able to help people. And so, you know, we attack it all over the place. We have Mental Mondays with Mike Shady. He is a brilliant mind. I was struggling on tour a couple years ago. It was actually right before I won the St. Petersburg Open and then went on to win the Tour Championships. And he's an assistant coach for Brian on Junior Team USA. And Brian just got back from camp, and I was frustrated. I had a couple bad weeks on tour, and I was frustrated. And I remember telling Brian, I just need a break. I just need a break. And he said to me, well, maybe you should just take, you know, a couple weeks off. I'm like, I can't. If I take a couple weeks off, I won't make the Tour Championships. And so I can't do that. So it was all crazy. And he goes, I think you should call Coach Shady. And I was like, okay. Well, I had only talked to him like once in my entire life. And he was so gracious, and he was so sweet, and he was so patient. We had about a 30-minute conversation, and he talked me through kind of like a mental process. He's like, just try to stick to this mental process and try to let all the other stuff go. So focus on the controllables and let everything else go. And I was like, okay, I can do this. I was jazzed. I was ready. And my first shot in competition, I pocket 710. And like, I was ready to lose it. Like, of course, here we go. And I like paused. I walked backwards off the approach because my face was probably saying a million ugly words. And I walked backwards off the approach, and I took a deep breath. And I told myself, okay, it was a good shot. It was a good shot. That's all you can control. Get one of them. Hey, maybe it'll bounce out and you'll make it. It didn't happen. But anyways, I was able to like catch myself really quickly. And I was able to stay in a very healthy place. And I've been implementing that process ever since. I won that tournament, won the Tour Championships, and then I've won back-to-back Player of the Years on Ladies Tour because he is a brilliant mind when it comes to the mental toughness and how to find a way that works for you individually. And so he does that, and it's just awesome. It's just such a fun, awesome group to be a part of. It's awesome to be able to help people, reach people from all over the world. I think we have like 11 different countries represented already. So the easiest way to do it, and you get a 7-day free trial. So just sign up, see if you like it. If you like the content, awesome. It's $14.99 a month. I feel like that's pretty reasonable for you to have access to us 4 coaches pretty much 24/7 whenever you want us. We're checking it constantly. Or you can buy a 1-year membership, which is $144 for a year. Or you can buy a 2-year membership, and I believe that's $229 a year. So if you're going to go spend all this money on high performance bowling balls, but then you're not going to invest in becoming better, you know, like, again, you get out of it what you put into it. And sometimes you do have to invest a little bit. So just think about it that way. It's less than a high performance bowling ball drilled for 2 years of nonstop coaching. When Brian broke it down that way, I was like, oh my gosh, why would people not want to do this? But anyways, we've even talked about possibly, you know, in a couple years, maybe taking our little group on tour, backstage bowling, and having clinics around the country and, you know, to be able to get that one-on-one time. But in the meantime, it's working very well. We're having a lot of fun. We have a lot of great dialogue, and I feel like everyone's really learning a lot of stuff. And on top of that, I bowled that women's tournament in St. Louis. I know, Kerry, you came and bowled. And Matt Farber videoed the whole thing from Friday night to Saturday, ball choices, talking to Brian, listening to Brian and my conversation, all that stuff. And he's putting together like a little documentary, like kind of following me along that journey. And that's going to be available to our backstage members, which is going to be really cool. And something that we want to do once tour happens is to be able to give you that backstage feeling, that access that other people normally wouldn't have. And so it's just everything bowling. Anything you can think of, any question that you would ever have about bowling, that's the place to get it answered and get help. It's so fun. It is so fun. So you just go to backstagebowling.com. It's going to take you to the Inside Bowling website, but it's going to take you right to those membership options. So you click a membership option that you're interested in to activate your 7-day trial, free trial, and just check it out. So I know that was a really long
totally
explanation, but thank you.
No, it's good. I wanted to make sure you had time to do it because as a coach and somebody that has, has opened up a training center here, the biggest thing that I extracted from what Shannon just said, and I think everybody needs to know, is every single one that you're seeing on this feed in here right now has a coach. Okay. I have a coach. I need help. Kerry does. Shannon didn't get to where she's at without having coaches in her corner. The coaches that are in this group are also learning from one another as well.
Yeah.
So many times I've been involved in the chat so far in there, and one of us will bring a point up and they're like, wow, I didn't think of it that way.
Right.
So we're, the unique part about it is in this industry, and, just getting through the, the COVID situation and things that are going on, now is the time for us to pull together, and really get a product out there and work together to make this game everything we want it to be. So, I was super psyched, and honestly, like you said, I went in and did the 2-year one, right? It's a no-brainer to me. I mean, it's, I didn't get a subscription to it just because Brian and Shannon are close friends of mine. I did it because I thought it was amazing product, and I'm looking for what I can get out of it. And at the same time, and share, some of my philosophies and my thoughts in there, if they're picking my brain, because, we all bring a uniqueness to this game, and it's amazing. And
yes.
What we're doing right now, we're 40 minutes in here talking about bowling, and I don't feel like I've been talking for 40 minutes because we're doing what we love to do, right? We're talking about a game we are so passionate about, and wanting all of you out here that have tuned in, come in and out, and we want to share this with you. We want to help you be the best versions of yourself that you can be. And by doing so, that's fulfillment for every single one, of us that are sitting here right now. That's really what we want to see. And,
it really is. It's so much like, honestly, that's kind of where Backstage Bowling kind of was formed. Was Brian and I and the other coaches, we have been so fortunate that this sport has given us so much. My best friends, you two are two of my best friends, people that I would have never met had it not been for this sport. I get to coach my kids. I'm not a mom, but I coach collegiately, and I get to experience the feeling of being a mom. I've been able to travel the world because of bowling. I get to compete on just an incredible, stage, and I feel so blessed, every day because of bowling. Our industry is so small. That everybody is connected in one way or another. And I'm not going to sit here and say that I'm the all-knowing and I know everything and I can't learn anything. I learn inside Backstage Bowling every single day, just like everybody else. And I just really hope that, people look at it and see that there's value there, and that they're going to get something out of it. And to touch on it really quick, I don't know why this is, but in bowling, it seems so taboo almost for people to have a personal coach. And I don't really understand that. Even at the professional level, a lot of these guys and these females don't have a personal coach. And I just think it's so bizarre. And maybe it's just because I'm very spoiled because my husband is one of the best coaches in the world. And so I'm always bugging him. Like today he was doing the releases of the guys on a high-speed camera. He's capturing their rev rate and their PAP and their tilt and rotation and all that stuff. And like, I was like, well, what did that one look like? What did that one look like? Like constantly, like, what do you think I need to work on now? And so I'm always bugging him. But I'm so grateful that I have that opportunity, because I wouldn't be who I am today if I didn't have somebody guiding the ship. I can work really hard, but if I don't have what is the right way to say it? If I don't have a practice plan, if I'm going into practice, I'm just throwing shots. Well, I don't know if it was a good practice or a bad practice. Every single day I practice, I have a purpose. And I have a purpose because I have a coach that keeps, me in line and guiding that ship. You talk about golfers. They have a swing coach. They have a putting coach. They have a mental coach. They all have it. And it's just a normal thing. But on the professional bowling side, or even bowlers in general, it is so weird. You ask people, hey, do you have a coach? And they'll say, yeah, I had a lesson one time. And I don't understand that. I played softball my whole life growing up. I was an All-American, and I always had a coach. I had a hitting coach, I had our overall head coach, and I had a pitching coach. And I was always constantly, in touch with them. And So I just find it really bizarre in our sport that people don't do that. And so let me be your coach. Let us be your coach. Let us help you. And you're going to get more than just us 4 coaches, because you also have Mike Flanagan. You also have Matt Farber. You have people like Jeff Smith. Eric Krause is in there. There's a lot of really valuable, knowledgeable people that are starting to join that are also there to help. And so take advantage of it. I think the more eyes that can help you, the better.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. And, it's refreshing to hear. Obviously there's a reason that we're all such close friends, because we see things a lot in the same way. And I've been very fortunate. Shannon saying, I've been very fortunate to get to work with Shannon through the years, and to get work with Kerry and some other girls that are out on tour. And it's humbling, and you learn. It's a two-way street, right? We learn from the players. We as coaches then learn how to adapt, and we learn how to coach in a different manner that makes sense to each player. Because let's be honest with you, I'm not going to go and I'm not going to speak to Kerry the same way that I speak to Shannon. Okay.
Sure.
And not because one of them is difficult and the other isn't, and I won't answer which one is difficult to begin with. But it has nothing to do with that. It's everything to do with the learning style of the player. Okay. So when you are looking for coaches, you want to make sure you're working with somebody that you can relate to, and they can adapt to what your need is, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And that is critical in any sport that you're doing, from whether you're a high school player that wants to be better, if you're an advanced player. Drop the pride. We all need help. We all need eyes. We can't, as players, see things that we're doing on our way to the foul line. Okay. We can't see the front part of the lane the same way that somebody behind us sees the front part of the lane.
Right.
Whether it's from a repping perspective, or, just a coach working on timing with you, go in there open-minded, work with somebody, let them point out, as good as some of us think that we are, and, we can correct all these things on our own. It's just not the case, gang. And, we were here talking about a bowling ball today, and I love that we spun it off and started talking about cut, but it's no different. And what I'm getting at with that is the Brands of Brunswick have done an incredible job giving us offerings to have versatility on the lanes, but it's more of an equation than just the ball all the time.
Right.
It's understanding the ball you're going to purchase. It's understanding where the balls we're talking about are going to fit in your bag.
Right.
And how it matches up for you, if you're a person that likes the ASIMs, or you like the symmetrics, and, not just the shelf appeal of the ball, we're going to make purchases. We're here to help you make a proper purchase, for me, myself, and what I do here at the training center. I'm never going to have a customer that comes in here and I'm just trying to sell him something to make $1. I mean, it's
right.
just not the mentality. I'm going to tell you if something's going to fit. I'm going to tell you if it's going to match up to your eye, and you're going to get an honest, feedback from me, and get that feel to understand that you're getting, service not only from myself, but because of the brands I represent, because it's really important to all of us that are on this feed, of how grateful we all are to be in the positions that we're at, and to be able to be here talking to you tonight. I mean, it's pretty awesome. So
now I can attest. I can attest to that, with that, you're not just going to push a product just to push it, because it's just not who you are. You live a life with so much integrity. And I'm so grateful for the years that we were able to spend on tour with you being a ball rep for me those few years. I mean, we did some pretty awesome things and we won titles. And some of it was because you saying, no, exactly. Some of that was with you saying, no, Shannon, that ball's not going to work. Like, you got to do something different. Okay. I trust you. How much I trust you. And, someday, hoping that you'll be ball repping again at some point. But I'm just, super grateful. So any of your customers, I'm sure that they know how much you care, and how much, education is a big part of it. And the fact that you are doing these regularly to educate your customers, I think speaks volumes that you're not just going to push a product down their throat, that you're really going to work hard to find what is best for them. And I don't know if you've done it yet, but maybe something that you could do, just throwing an idea out there, is maybe we could do something, and maybe I can come and help you guys. But, building a 6-ball arsenal, what does that look like, and why would you do it, and things like that. because I think that that's something a lot of people, you know, don't know. And, you know, I think my favorite question is when people send me a message and say, "Hey, I'm trying to replace my my redemption solid, so I was thinking of getting that." Let me think. What am I thinking? Redemption solid. Oh, I'm thinking of getting like an allure or something, you know. So they're wanting to replace a big ASIM with like a medium symmetrical, and I'm like, no. If you want to replace a big ASIM, you got to find a big ASIM, you know. And so, you know, things like that. So I'm grateful that you guys are doing what you do up there to help all of your bowlers get better. And I'm so grateful that you guys had me come and join you today. I can't wait to hear, you know, how your customers like this web tour. I know I like it a lot. We're getting ready to place our order for our college girls, and it is absolutely going to be one on our list of balls that we order. So I'm super excited.
Absolutely. And again, we can't thank you enough for, you know, joining us and, you know, giving your time. And you know, I might make you blush here a little bit, but you know, you brought up a thing. You know, I enjoyed the years I was out on tour, and when I held this up, I specifically, I have this at my center, and people look at this all the time, and what this is this is probably one of the coolest gifts I've ever gotten, to be honest with you, in my life. For those of you that may not know, Shannon and I won quite a few titles together, along with Brian, her husband. But 2016 was a pretty special year where we had a ton of titles, and you know, at the end of the season, Shannon went through and she kind of captured just everything you could think of through the season with you know, the tournament she won, and just great pictures and the selfies. But I call them ussies because there's two of us. But through the season, and she sent this book. I think it was made on probably Snapfish or something. I don't remember, but this caught the whole season, and this was a token from Shannon, just to show the type of person she was. To capture all that and give thanks and giving back to the people that helped her along the way, and just, you know, friendship and all. And Kerry, you know, who's on here right now, she can tell you, when I got this, the damn thing made me tear up. Like it was the coolest freaking thing anybody, you know, that I've gotten, and just kind of put into perspective, you know, kind of what we just talked about. Like, you know, this is, you know, things don't, you know, we put in what we get out of it, and, you know, that was a hell of a year, you know.
It was really awesome.
You know, we will, you know, we'll cherish that forever. You know, I cherish this and our friendship forever. And
me too.
By all means, at some point, I'm sure at some point in the future, we'll all get to work together on the lanes again.
Yeah, I hope so.
On the flip side, you guys didn't get to see that incredible year, like, not being on the lanes. I got to see it, you know, from sitting in the crowd and seeing the interaction between the two of you and Brian, and, you know, being on tour, that made me want to work harder. Aww. Because it makes you want to, like, up your game. Like, I know I can do it, but again, you have to put in the work to be successful. Yeah. So, I mean, we all work crazy jobs, full-time jobs. You coach, I work a full-time job, you know, between traveling and everything. I mean, it wears and tears on you. So, I mean, you have to put the time in, you have to find the time, you have to set the time aside. But I mean, honestly, that year was the year was right before I had all those health issues. So then we go back to, and I say this to Jeff all the time, like, some people take this sport for granted. And with the whole COVID thing, and with me being off for a year and a half and not being able to be on tour, like, I don't take this for granted at all anymore. Like, it really opened my eyes up to say, look, if you want to be one of the best and be out on tour with these girls, you got to work your butt off, and you got to have a good mental game, a good physical game. You have to bowl 110% every week when you're out there. So, I mean, Shannon, we know you're inspiring to a lot of girls out there, including myself. But I mean, you learn things from other people, and that's just how this sport is. It goes back to the whole coaching thing. Like, yeah, it's great to have a good coach. You know, I always try to learn a little bit from the players out on tour. I've learned a lot from Jeff. I've learned a lot from Shannon and Brian. You know, there's just so many things you can learn from people. And the way one person says it, you might not understand it, but it might be the same thing that someone else is talking about, but they're saying it a different way, and it just makes sense. So, I mean, we're always learning in this game.
Yeah,
what she meant by that is work with your significant other. So in this situation, when they didn't, like what they had to say, Shannon came to me and Kerry went to Brian. So it was perfect.
Brian and I, a long time ago, figured out how to separate, husband and wife, player coach, coworker, a long time ago. But that doesn't mean that there's not moments where I get so frustrated. And it just goes back to what I was talking about with Mike Shady and having a mental process. Is this last year specifically, I remember it was so funny. I was struggling in California. We were at Fountain Valley, and I was really struggling. And it was evident I wasn't going to make the top 12. But I still wanted to finish as high as I could. But man, I was working hard, and I just could not get my ball to strike like everybody else. Didn't matter what I tried. And Brian came over to me with like 3 games left, and I just was like, I think I stomped my foot a little bit and was like, ugh. And he's like, it's okay, Shan. You just have to embrace the struggle. And I just kind of looked at him, and I was like, you're right. I have to embrace the struggle. But if that was 2 years earlier, I might have socked him in the face, but it's all learning. You just learn. But honestly, by him saying that, you just have to embrace the struggle. You're not going to be amazing all the time, and you're going to have moments of struggle. But how you can mentally approach those moments, and if you can look at it like that, like, okay, I'm just going to embrace this right now. It's okay that I'm struggling, and I'm going to embrace it so I can learn what I need to learn out of it. And that's exactly what happened. I went home, I worked on the one thing that was kind of the issue, and then I didn't have a problem the rest of the year anytime I encountered that situation. And so super grateful. And had I not embraced that, I probably wouldn't have learned that, in that moment. And so the significant other thing can be tough. So if you're a parent that is trying to coach your child, or if you're a husband trying to coach your wife, or a girlfriend trying to coach your boyfriend, or whatever the situation is, if you're struggling, seek help. It's okay. Because I have been at this for 20 years, and we still have moments where if looks could kill, he would have died like 5 times, because like sometimes I just get so frustrated. But then Jeff could walk over, or Sean Ryan, and I'm like, hey, what's going on? So totally not fair to Brian, but so it is nice to have other people. And that's why I think backstage bowling is so great. And Kerry, you touched on it. I could say something in that, to somebody in backstage bowling, and it doesn't really, they're like, what is she talking about? And Brian could say it a different way, and they're still like, huh? And then Mike Jazz now could say it a third way, and all of a sudden they're like, oh, okay, I totally get it. It happens all the time. And I think that you just have to figure out your learning style and, find the person that you connect with that helps you in that situation. But I don't know. I'm super excited for just bowling in general to start getting back to somewhat normal. I'm ready to compete again on tour. I'm ready to see you guys regularly. Ready to see these balls in action. I'm going next weekend, not this weekend, but next weekend to the Ebonite Fall Classic in Iowa, and this ball will be in my bag. So I'm super excited. So I
am definitely going to have one in my bag. I am actually putting my shoes on to bowl a regional this weekend on Sunday.
Yes.
And
all right.
Yeah, I mean, this is amazing. I have like 4 new covers in my bag, and that never happens. Like I'm the last person to put holes in a ball. It's about everybody else first. But yeah, it's awesome. Glad to hear it. You're going to be hitting something up as well.
Yeah.
Some local stuff here.
Yeah, and then believe it or not, goodness, in less than 20 days, I'm headed to bowl the PBA League. So.
Oh
yeah. So us ladies are going to try to take these guys down. So I'm really excited for that as well. Just to have the opportunity to compete again is great. So
I'm gonna need to get me some garb. I'm gonna be rooting for the ladies on this one. So
yes,
I gotta get some t-shirts for it. But again, Shannon, Kerry, kind of to try to wrap this up here. We're approaching the hour, and we all could talk for a lot longer, but you both ate, I think, already. I'm dying. I need some food, but You know, I want to thank you all honestly for the time and I, you know, the comments, and we aren't ignoring you guys. There's some comments in here about how great this is, and you know, it's humbling to read that. You know, this is exactly what we wanted out of this. So learn a little bit about the bowling balls here, and then you, as an ad lib, you got to hear some you know, some tips and some things and some other ways that, you know, we kind of approach the game, and we just want to share it with you, all of us. So you know, get out there, support bowling in general, support your proprietors. You know, they were hurting through all this, so if you get a chance, go in, stop and bowl a couple extra games, support them. You know, we're finally back. What, Michigan just opened up. I think
Yeah.
California's still down, but you know, it's an incredibly hard time right now. But we pull together. We're going to get through this. And before I cut the feed off here, I just have one question for both of you girls.
Okay.
So, who is your favorite ball rep ever that is not named Brian O'Keefe, Sean Ryan, or we'll just stop there, or Rob Gottschall?
Oh my God, that's so funny. You know, you're one of my favorites, Jeff. I've told you that for a long time.
We had to throw that in there. Just a little fun on the end, but yes, it's been great. So again, thank you girls for your time.
Of course.
It's been great. We're gonna do it again in the future. You know, when we have some
For
things,
sure.
maybe get both the girls throwing it. And again, support Pure Bowling, support Backstage Bowling, support these women when you see them, and by all means, please go out, support the brands of Brunswick. Our products are really, really good right now. And if you have any further questions, you can reach out to me directly. Feel free to reach out to Kerry, or if you go into Backstage, Shannon, or any of the other coaches there can answer some questions on as well.
For sure.
So,
all right. Well, thanks, guys.
I enjoy it. Thank you much.
All right. Have a good night.
Kick this off here. Bye, everyone.